Hi, this is Shira Rubinoff. I'm here with Insights in Tech. I'm here with Martin Fleming. Martin, welcome to the show.
Hi, Shira. Pleased to be with you.
Wonderful having you. Martin, can you please explain a little bit about your background and what you're currently doing and your role that you're playing within IBM right now so people really understand the breadth of wealth of information that you'll be bringing to our show today?
Sure. So I'm IBM's chief economist. And as the chief economist, we spend a great deal of time, as you would guess, understanding what's happening in the global economy, the impact that technology is having on economic activity. Until about a year or so ago, I also had the chief analytics officer role, and it's become quite common in the technology industry to bring analytics and economics together. So we find that in a number of our peer companies across the industry. But recently, quite fortunately, with the pandemic, I've been able to devote full time to the economics role.
Wonderful. So, Martin, as the world has been hit by this terrible pandemic of COVID-19, it has impacted us in many different ways, certainly within our workforce. Can you please share with us what you see being the biggest impact now and going forward in the global workforce transformation?
Sure. So, of course, we've all gotten a lot smarter around public health, meaning epidemiology, virology, and the spread of viruses. And in terms of understanding the future of economic activity, we have to start with the public health activity. Our anticipation is that this is going to be a few years, a couple of years at least, perhaps many as 3 or 4, until there's sufficient immunity around the world to be able to return to activities and not have to be concerned with the spread of the virus. The virus will always exist, but until there's a vaccine and it's distributed broadly, it's going to impact activity. However, we anticipate over that time period significant transformation in the global economy, in social activity, and in many different dimensions of life. So that when we get to that point, whether it's 2 years from now or 3 years from now or 4 years from now, there's a high probability, it's certainly not a sure thing, but a high probability that the global economy will be on a path to significant transformation.
Right. No, that makes quite a bit of sense there. And I'd like to actually talk a little bit about artificial intelligence, which I see you speak about quite often, and how it's becoming a fundamental part of an organization as a whole. You've discussed how the workforce will be shifting, how jobs and responsibilities of today will look a lot different to some folks, including retraining, mindset, and even their salary. Can you please talk to this point, highlighting the main aspects from both organization perspective as well as the employee's perspective?
Sure. So the capabilities of artificial intelligence are increasing rapidly. They're certainly building larger and larger data sets with which to train and estimate models, meaning greater and greater capability, more capabilities in more business functions, both from a consumer's point of view as well as a business-to-business perspective. However, not every function and not every task, we tend to think of business processes in terms of a collection of tasks. Not every task can be automated or will be automated. And it's those tasks that cannot be automated where the value of the worker's skills increases in value quite significantly. Now that's going to mean a transformation, a shift in how workers work, and perhaps have to learn new skills and get smarter around some of the business processes that are changing, but it's the value for workers is created where the automation cannot or will not be deployed.
What would you say to allay some of the fears of moving towards this new transformation within industry?
So certainly change is difficult, and there's no denying that fear, anxiety, and concern is it's certainly legitimate, and because it's not easy. The reality is that as we have seen over time, the continued deployment of technology, whether it's in previous eras of more mechanical engineering technology are now in the current era with artificial intelligence. It impacts all occupations to some degree. And we just have to get used to the fact, adjust to the fact that there are new skills, new capabilities that need to be learned, and that the rate of change is increasing, and the obsolescence of existing skills is increasing at a more rapid pace. And as unfortunate as that may be, that's the reality of the world that we're in.
Certainly. And let's talk to the employees themselves, the ones who might be worried about their jobs themselves. They have certain skill sets. They've been working in their job for so many years. As you mentioned, change is very difficult for people. People are, they're very comfortable with what they know. And certainly going out of the comfort zone takes some, it takes work. But what would you say to them, those employees themselves who are very fearful of their jobs and actually looking to new types of education or some work that they might not be familiar with?
So again, the recognition that it's not easy. It involves additional hours beyond perhaps regular work hours, and certainly creates conflict with our personal lives in terms of hours competing. But we need to find opportunities to engage in new training for new skills, retraining, looking for courses and other ways of learning that help to enhance skills. However, some of the most valuable skills are oftentimes those that don't require quite so much training. Communication skills, for example, the ability to team and work together and be able to network in an organization, which is perhaps more a function of personality than it is of say, technical skills. But it's really the combination of those communication skills and those teaming skills, along with some enhanced technical skills, which is where the sweet spot is as we go forward.
With your vast knowledge in artificial intelligence, what would you say to the point of diversity of thought and mind yields a more secure and diverse environment, which in turn creates a more cohesive organization? What would you say to that point?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. First of all, I might object to the description of the vast knowledge portion of the question, but the diversity point is exactly right, particularly in a time where we're very concerned about racism and bigotry and other social issues which are really quite pressing. It's the value of diversity. It's all of us coming from different geographies, different races, different ethnic groups, different religions, genders, male, female, that bring the differing points of view that cause innovation and creativity to occur. So it's the differences as opposed to the similarities that really drive innovation and drive economic growth, which is, of course, what ends up rewarding us all in terms of increased income and increased wealth. And so my view is that if we look back historically, we should be celebrating diversity because it brings many, many values, both personal and social and otherwise.
Wonderful. I couldn't agree more to that point. And just in terms of IBM, I've done some work with IBM, and they're certainly at the forefront of being on top of having a diverse workforce and all sorts of other, cutting edge technology. What would you say in that aspect of how you see it transforming within your organization when it comes to artificial intelligence and those aspects as well?
So certainly we have had the benefit of being able to recruit and hire a quite diverse workforce. And it presents many, many challenges across different geographies, even within a limited geography. For example, being able to accommodate personal circumstances and families and children and daycare and all that goes along with bringing a diverse team together. But it's something certainly that IBM is very committed to and has been committed to over its long history, having engaged with business leaders who are African American and women, well before many other firms were able to make such appointments.
Wonderful. And let's shift a little bit to the future of work. What do you think you see the road that's being approached a lot quicker than we might have expected due to this pandemic? The world embracing, for example, telemedicine, for example, and moving quickly, more fast than they thought that it would actually be approaching us.
Yeah, absolutely. So our view has been, and I've been one of the strongest proponents, that we need to get folks together as a team in one location, everybody sitting around a large table, exchanging ideas and not being slowed down by the use of Slack and email and texting, and being able to all work together and share ideas in a real-time way. I think what we're finding now is that while that approach certainly continues to have value, there are certainly many situations, many opportunities where video conferencing and working from home can add to the productivity of the teams. And so it really becomes more a matter of finding the work method that best applies to the individual task or team or situation. We would think of it as a scrum because we're using agile methods, but the application of the work method to the appropriate situation.
Nice. And what would you say is the biggest surprise of the speed that we're edging towards in the future of work? And more specifically, where do you think we're headed in the next 2 to 3 years?
Well, next 2 to 3 years, of course, we're going to be still taking precautions around the virus, most likely. Yeah. So we're likely to continue to see much of the same that we have, maybe not over the past 3 or 4 months, but certainly over the past few weeks. The degree of innovation around new offerings and new services really has picked up. The speed has really increased. So we're going to find new products, new services, new offerings really becoming available quite rapidly. It will take time for much larger, more substantial capital investments where physical capital is required, where larger scaling of, say, cloud computing deployments are required. So it's the scaling of activity that is going to take time to build on some of the innovation that's currently being realized as a result of the changed circumstances that the pandemic has brought.
Right. Well, Martin, thank you very much for joining us today on Insights in Tech.
Pleased to be with you.
I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Great.